Hello and welcome to another update video on Bitcoin. So we want to take a look at the Bitcoin chart. In case you're really interested in the long term, like here the weekly chart, feel free to check out our latest video on the MCO Global channel that I published yesterday. Gives you a few ideas of the an interpretation of certain cycle indicators. But this here is, just a reminder that we're likely close to a major top, but I think Q4 could still be very profitable. Q4 normally is, and Bitcoin has never topped in October. And at the moment, it's obviously September, which is historically a little bit weaker, but we still see some upside. So there's no sign at the moment that a major top has formed, even though we are in that area where it could form at any point. But I feel free to join us on that MCO Global channel. You'll find it on YouTube, but also it's linked in the video description. What I actually want to show you is here on the daily chart, a reminder, first of all, of our levels. Then I will take a look at Fed for next week, Fed interest rate. Decision is coming up in a few days, so we'll talk about when and what that could mean, and then we'll talk about the shorter time frame. Now, here on the Bitcoin daily chart, we have here the resistance area, which matters, really for our for our B wave here. Now, B waves sometimes don't respect those Fibonacci levels so well. If the B wave doesn't, then this will be very telling. So if we just break through here, while that would not rule out the B wave, it would make it more likely that we're already in a move to a new all-time high, because first of all, B waves can even overshoot. That would not be unexpected. But it would also challenge the view of a lot of people who already claimed that we have a major top and who already called for the bear market to start or have started just based on a, what was it, 10, 15%? 15% drop? Not even 15. Okay, like 13, 14% drop, something that in crypto is very, very common. But it's always the same, like just right when Bitcoin is still holding structure, every cycle you get people who highlight the bear market has started. So we don't want to do that. We want to wait for evidence, But I can highlight that the risk is high. I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, what these people highlight is a possibility, okay? I mentioned it to you. We do have a wave count that can be considered complete, but I mark it intentionally with a question mark because it's not confirmed yet. And I still have two pathways for higher prices, which means probabilities are still more geared towards higher prices. So that would be the fifth wave up, or after a broader correction, maybe into this area around 95K, various reasons. There's our support corridor. There's also a moving average that's coming up here too, by the way. I'm not showing them both, but there are two powerful moving averages. One is the, if I remember correctly, the 55-week EMA, which is a very important one. And then the white one here is the 1 year moving average. Simple moving average. So yeah, bottom line is we have a resistance area here to watch for next week. This is going to be key. I don't think it's coincidence that the market has reached our resistance area and the Fed interest rate decision is coming in 3 days. Okay, so that's something to watch for. Only if we get 5 waves above resistance, we can start to rule out that this is a B wave. Now, before we dive into the microstructures, let's remind ourselves Fed Watch tool, the very accurate Fed Watch tool that typically tells us what we have to expect for the interest rate decision. That's going to come up next week. Not the tool, the tool is here, but it tells us it's in 3 days, okay? And 3 days and 8 hours. And also, it tells us the probabilities. I mean, currently, guys, if you're not aware, but the target rate is 425 to 450 at the moment. Now, that means we have 93.4% probabilities based on this tool that we'll get a 25 basis point reduction and a 6.6% probability for a 50 basis point reduction. Now, you could say that this is probably priced in. The 6%, not so much. So if we get, I mean, not 6%, yeah, the 50 basis points. So if we get a 50 basis point reduction, which I don't think we get, then this could give some short-term upside for crypto. Just because the market would be very, positively surprised. The narrative is normally that, if interest rates go down, money is injected in the, in high risk, into high risk assets. So we should get further not downside, but further rate reductions this year anyway. That fits very well the narrative that Q4 is typically very positive from a performance point of view. We should get 3 more rate reductions this year. That's what Reuters confirmed or assumes. That's what JP Morgan assumes. Yeah. So that's what we're watching for. Just please note, I don't think we'll get 50. We'll get probably 25. Now, if you want to have an overview of what the Fed funds rate is doing, I mean, here this shows like Bitcoin's history, and you can see that Bitcoin went up either way, right? I find that quite telling because the narratives that are normally put out, they're not necessarily always true. I'm always a huge fan of focusing on the data that's out there. So this is the price chart, Bitcoin price chart in black, and the Fed funds rate. Yeah, obviously it's always a band. There's a lower and a higher target rate. But you see that even in times where the rate went up, like here, between, what was that? End of 2015, all the way up here to end of 2017, where the rates went up basically from 0 to 0.1 to 1.5%, Bitcoin went up, okay? Quite aggressively. So that narrative that Bitcoin goes down when rates go up is just not true. Same thing happened here. I remember it. Elliott Wave helped us understand that we're likely in a bull market end of 2022, early 2023. And people were like, nah, the rates are going up. That's not possible. And Bitcoin moved up significantly. And that early phase, believing those narratives is so dangerous because people missed the boat. People missed the boat. Now, funny enough, people could not believe that we are entering a bear market end of 2021. Now, if you were here back then, you know that we called it, right? Elliott Wave helped us to understand that we're in a bear market already around, I think it was like 55K or 53K. But a lot of people didn't even believe it until we broke below 30K, right? So it's not always that the price goes up just if rates go down. It's just not how it is. Still, though, in the short term, it can have a positive effect, just from sentiment point of view, narrative point of view. But don't assume, and that's dangerous, please don't assume that we couldn't get a bear market just because rates go lower, okay? So we are close to a top, that's my view still, but we haven't topped yet. Looking at the shorter time frame for BTC, Bitcoin continues to follow here the pathway for higher prices. Over the weekend, it was mainly sideways action. Yeah, and we have a support area that's still unchanged, 113,500 to 115,000. And yeah, higher prices are still possible either in the orange scenario more directly, or we might dip into this lower support area in an extended wave 4, which I've marked with a question mark, and then we could still go higher from there. So that is my key support area. I think if we break below the overnight low at around 115,130, we're probably dipping into this zone again, which you know already. But again, that doesn't really change anything in the structure. It just means that the wave 4 likely still is unfolding, okay? Which wouldn't be a problem just because, this wave 2 was quite long compared to what we had here between Friday and Friday, okay? Or rather, let's say between Thursday and Friday. But overall, I still think at least one more high here is very likely, towards 117,660 to 118,500, whereas any break below 113,500 would likely indicate we have a more substantial top in place in this orange B wave. But the white count shows you here how a 5-wave move up would look like, by the way. So yeah, overall, that's currently how I see Bitcoin. A quick reminder, in case you are also interested in checking out all these charts, the data from Bitcoin Magazine Pro. I use their data to kind of, support the analysis. We have a partnership with them. You get an exclusive discount with a voucher code, discount code. It's called 20MCO, 20% discount if you want to check out their charts. They've got lots of charts, Bitcoin charts, portfolio tools, and so on. So, yeah, they've been around for a long time. So we've got a lot of charts here, like very helpful cycle indicators. Let me know in the comments if you want me to show you some of these in future videos. I think it adds a lot of value. But as I said, if you want to check it out yourself, for you guys who watch this channel, you can get a 20% discount with the code 20MCO. It's linked in the description as well, or at least there's the voucher code. You can check it out in case you're interested. So yeah, overall, hope that helps. I wish you a great Sunday. Remember, today we've got our member live stream at 5 p.m. UTC. We'll typically cover 40 coins or so in that live stream. I think it'll be busy today. We've got a lot of movement in the market. So yeah, see you over there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.